Welcome, welcome. A lot of big news, a lot of stuff to talk about, even just since we finished the show a few hours ago. Already, sort of like four major breaking stories. I'll be talking about all of them. Donald Trump has fired his national security advisor, H.R. McMaster. Donald Trump restates that he wants to testify, or speak to, rather, Robert Mueller. Donald Trump's primary personal attorney on the Trump-Russia investigation, call it scandal, whatever, has resigned. And another, I don't even know what term to use, former girlfriend, affair, mistress of Donald Trump's, asserts that Donald Trump, after they had sexual relations, tried to pay her, which sounds very, very awkward. And we will be looking at all of those stories in detail. I now have the ability, which people seemed to like last time, to actually show you the articles I'm looking at as I discuss them. People seem to like that during the last live stream, so that's something that will be going on. We also will, what else should I do? I guess I should just do some very, very brief live stream stuff. This is a live stream. This is different from the broadcast show from the studio in that it is actually live. You can comment, you can talk to me, you can ask questions, etc., etc. You can use Super Chat or streamlabs.com/The David Pakman Show to ask questions and send comments. Both are completely acceptable methods of sending questions and comments, and I will read them. If it's a question, I will answer it. If it's a comment, I guess I'll react to it to the extent that there's anything to react to. And then as always, as I make a habit of doing, any new members and patrons who sign up during the live stream, either at patreon.com/David Pakman Show or davidpakman.com/membership, I will thank you during the stream. And we do accept cryptocurrency. You can read about that on our website. People loving that. And please don't troll the live chat. I love this thing that happens in the live chat where someone will like paste a swastika or call me a Jew cuck, and before I can even react, they've already been banned by one of our moderators. So there are moderators. The moderators have been completely deputized and empowered to get rid of people as they see fit, based on my guidelines. And the guidelines are, what are the guidelines? I think it's, you know it when you see it. Obvious trolling will get you banned. And less obvious, subtle trolling probably won't, because it's so subtle that we won't even notice what it is that you are doing. So let's get right into story number one, why don't we? Which is that Donald Trump now is saying that he wants to testify in Robert Mueller's Russia investigation. Let's take a look at this article from The Hill. Hopefully 10 ads won't pop up while I'm talking. Trump said today he wants to testify before special counsel Robert Mueller. Yes, I would like to, he said. This happened after John Dowd resigned. So I think that there's actually some PR value to this, because the resignation of John Dowd combined with the the retention of a new lawyer for Trump, who is seen more as a type of guy, DeGeneva is his last name, I forget his first name, who would try to push Trump to fire Mueller. This may be a way to indirectly say, listen, if I was going to fire Mueller, and if Dowd's resignation was an indication that that's the direction I was going, I wouldn't be saying I want to testify. But that is the wrong analysis. That assumes that Trump's motivation is not to alarm people with the idea that he's going to fire Mueller. I think a more likely explanation is Trump does want to fire Mueller. Whether he ultimately will or won't remains to be seen. But the idea of saying he wants to testify is so later, when he has fired Mueller and people say, you clearly had it out for him from the beginning, Trump can say, no, I'm on record. March 22nd, I said I want to testify for Robert Mueller, and I meant it. Why would I say that if I was just planning to fire the guy? I fired him because he did something worthy of firing. So I think that's probably the logic here. As the article states, Trump and Dowd found themselves at odds over how to handle the Russia probe, and one of their disputes was regarding a potential Trump interview with Mueller. The president has publicly and privately said he should sit down with the special counsel, while Dowd advised against it. Trump has long expressed the belief that he should be able to deliver his argument personally to Mueller, that his campaign did not collude with Moscow's election meddling efforts. So this, I mean, if that's an accurate report, that just sort of shows the naivete, I guess I would say, of Donald Trump, where Trump thinks that it's all going to be, did you collude with Russia? Did you deliberately coordinate with them? And that's going to be the focus. But the way that these interviews are going to go, and this is why I think Trump's lawyers, to the extent that they were saying this, are making the right move by saying, no, don't go in and talk to Mueller. Because Trump's going to go in there, and the questions aren't going to be, Mr. Trump, Mr. President, did you collude? No, the questions are going to be super specific about what Trump knew, when, whether he had awareness of X, Y, or Z. And those are mostly going to be questions that Mueller's team already knows the answers to, because that's how these investigators work. So Trump's naivete and thinking he'll just go in there and swear up and down, just like he bamboozles and bullies people in his business dealings, he'll go in there and just tell Mueller, no, there's no collusion. And Mueller will say, oh, you know what? I didn't see it that way. I guess you're right. Shouldn't really worry about it. That's the Trump naivete. As the article indicates, some Trump attorneys and outside legal experts warned the president could expose himself to tremendous legal risks if he makes false statements during an interview with Mueller or his team of investigators. Mueller is also probing whether Trump obstructed justice in his investigation into Russian meddling. His team reportedly sent a list of questions to Trump's lawyers that may come up in a possible interview. I actually am against that. I think that's not a good idea. I think it's sort of what I do when we do interviews and guests ask me for questions, and I say, no, I'm not going to give you the questions, but I'll let you know what the topics are going to be. I think that would have been a better approach, but it might be something that Mueller's team saw as necessary. This is a very interesting paragraph. The special counsel's office is said to be focused on the president's role in drafting a misleading statement about Donald Trump Jr.'s meeting with a Russian lawyer at Trump Tower in 2016. In June 2016, the circumstances surrounding the meeting and the firings of National Security Advisor Michael Flynn and FBI Director James Comey. Yeah, that's an interesting note, because it's long been suggested that is a direct way in which Trump both was complicit in the lies specifically related to Russia, and it casts a lot of doubt on the possibility that Trump just knew nothing, right? I mean, it's very, very hard to believe that Trump went from knowing absolutely nothing about any meeting whatsoever to saying, let me get personally involved in drafting the response. It's most logical, and again, it's not evidence of anything in and of itself, but it's most logical that this is something Trump had a sort of general awareness of, and the participation in that was part of Trump just thinking, hey, I'm better than everybody else. I know what to say. Let me draft it, and then it's all just going to be fantastic, and nobody's going to have any questions whatsoever. Of course, didn't work out that way, right? Didn't work out that way whatsoever. Okay, let me see if there's anything else here in this article I wanted to touch on. Trump has indicated he wants a more bare-knuckled approach towards Mueller. Under Dowd's leadership, his legal team largely cooperated. The president this week added longtime Washington lawyer Joseph DeGeneva to his legal team. DeGeneva has argued the Russia probe is part of an FBI plot to frame Trump and exonerate Hillary Clinton. So Trump now has a full-blown conspiracy theorist working for him. He got rid of the lawyer who pretty astutely came to the conclusion that Trump shouldn't talk to Mueller from the point of view of protecting his client. Got rid of that guy and instead brought on a full-blown conspiracy theorist who even used the term witch hunt. The Mueller probe, which is a term that Trump uses, the Mueller probe should never have started, in that there was no collusion and there was no crime. Trump tweeted last weekend, again calling the investigation a witch hunt. Dowd issued a statement last weekend calling for an end to Mueller's investigation, but then gave conflicting accounts over whether he was speaking on behalf of Trump or just himself. So we will see whether that happens. I think the most likely scenario is not that Trump actually has any plan of sitting down with Mueller. I think the idea here is to portray a willingness to sit down with Mueller, to later use it as a defense for saying, I didn't fire Mueller because I was ideologically committed to the idea of firing him. I was more than willing to speak to him. I fired him because he did X, Y, or Z, and who knows what that will be. Okay, let's see what else. By the way, is my video not doing well? Because I'm getting a message here from YouTube on the stream now that I'm looking at it, which says that there's a problem with my keyframes and that as a result, people may have to buffer often. If you're having to buffer often, let me know in the chat and I can look at changing some settings here. You good, says Dep1. Anybody else? Am I having, it's okay from what I see. You're coming in clear. Video looks good to me, looks fine to me, looks good to me. All right, well, I'm just going to proceed. I will proceed as Barack Obama once asked Mitt Romney to please proceed, Governor. Okay, as I mentioned, I do like to do thank yous and shout outs to people who sign up or pledge on Patreon during the live stream. And I want to do that because we've got 2 new members. Wilbur McGlynn has just signed up at davidpakman.com/membership. And Paul Farrell or Farrell. Guess I'm not 100% sure how you pronounce your last name, but definitely Paul I feel good about, has just signed up. And you can both become a member or a patron at patreon.com/davidpakmanshow. You hit the orange become a patron button. I get pinged and then I thank you because you did a really, really great thing. The other possibility, of course, membership. We do have a 40% off coupon code for membership if you go to davidpakman.com/membership. Monthly membership, yearly membership, your choice. After you pick one and hit the red sign up button, this is the key. You go down to the coupon code field and you type Vote Soon 18. And regardless of which membership you choose, it could be monthly, yearly, it could be $6, $12, $24, $48 a month, whatever, you'll save 40% when you use the coupon code Vote Soon 18, which is, it's a big thing. It's a big thing. All the kids these days are doing it, and I'm excited to be able to tell you about it today. Let me get to the next story for today's live stream, but before that, I want to get to a super chat because Troy McInroy has sent a $5 Canadian super chat asking, kind of off topic, but have you ever been noticed in public? I have. It happens pretty often. It probably happens, I don't know, maybe 3 times a month or something like that. It recently happened actually getting onto the subway at the downtown crossing stop here in Boston. And as I was walking by, there was an actual subway attendant, we call it the T here in Boston, who said, "Hey." And I said, "Yeah." Figured there was something wrong with my card, or he thought I was trying to jump the turnstile. And he said, "You look exactly the same as you look on TV." And I said, "Thank you," and moved on. Because it is a little bit awkward. It's a little bit awkward every time it happens, but I do what I can with it, you know? I can't always be prepared with the right response. Sometimes it's just a little bit awkward. Okay, I have already talked to you about how Donald Trump says he wants to testify before Robert Mueller. Now we are going to get to the second big story from today, the story from earlier today, that Donald Trump's top Russia lawyer, John Dowd, resigned today. Very good Washington Post article outlining the entire thing. And as it says, President Trump, whose top attorney handling the Russia probe resigned Thursday, is struggling to find top-notch defense lawyers willing to represent him in the case, according to multiple Trump advisors familiar with negotiations. I love that because it's a super subtle attack on Joseph DeGeneva. Trump recently brought on a conspiracy theorist lawyer, Joseph DeGeneva, who believes that actually the FBI is trying to improve the public's image of Hillary Clinton by even doing a Trump-Russia investigation. I love how by saying that it's tough for Trump to find top-notch defense lawyers, it's sort of an indirect attack on DeGeneva because he just hired DeGeneva, but nobody thinks he's exactly a top-notch guy. And as we've covered before, as the article says, some law firms have signaled that they do not want the controversy of representing a divisive and unpopular president, while others have told Trump advisors they have clients with conflicting interests. There's another problem here because prior attorneys have said they don't want to work for Trump because, number one, they don't think he'll listen to them, and number two, they're not sure that he'll pay them. So those are actually pretty solid reasons not to represent somebody. And the What is this comment? Seems unrelated. Comment from Japan about national crises. Dowd has been the president's main point of contact with Mueller's office, which is investigating Russian interference. We know that. Dowd also had been negotiating the terms for the president to sit for an interview with Mueller's team as it examines whether Trump has obstructed justice by seeking to shut down the investigation. This is ultimately going to explode one way or the other. And there are any number of different ways that this could ultimately explode, but the way in which it explodes is sort of going to be determined by Trump. And what I mean by that is that a lot of what's even going on with Trump-Russia is self-inflicted by Donald Trump. If we all just for a second take a step back from the daily news of the Trump-Russia investigation, where it's one issue building on another one, building on another one, and another one. Thanks, Dep1, by the way. I'll get to your super chat in a moment. If from the very beginning, right, go back all the way to the beginning at this point, if from the beginning Trump had not tweeted anything about Trump-Russia, not fired anyone to try to obstruct an investigation, and simply when asked from the beginning said only, I respect the FBI, I plan to cooperate fully, I am going to focus on pursuing the agenda I outlined during my campaign. While they do this investigation, I look forward to being vindicated and cleared and being able to move on beyond this. And that's it. It is very difficult to imagine that the investigation would have gotten to the point that it is now. And it's also difficult to imagine that it would have gotten as close to Trump as it is now. There's probably no way at this point to really believe that there would have been no investigation at all, at least into Trump campaign associates, because even without Trump's statements, there's a lot of really sketchy stuff that appears to have gone on. But without Trump calling even more attention to himself and creating whole new lines of inquiry about possible obstruction of justice based on firings and so on and so forth, the degree to which this would be hitting Trump would be a fraction of what it is right now. So I think that mostly to blame here is Donald Trump, even if you believe that he was sort of the patsy or the puppet in the entire Russia thing, that he really wasn't directly involved. He was more the stooge who was being manipulated, and it was some of his aides that were more directly involved. He still has inflicted this upon himself by the firings and the tweets and the attacks and the war against the intelligence community. Okay, let's talk now about... let me get to these other super chats. Dep1 has sent a $20 super chat saying, "You demand keep the show going, homie." Well, I plan to. The show is alive and well, and it's going to continue. I think we also got over at streamlabs.com/The David Pakman Show, which is another way that you can ask questions and make comments. Two from Christina, $2 Streamlabs contributions from Christina. "David, I've missed you. Do you enjoy scented candles?" I don't. I hate scented candles, and in fact, I recently threw some out that were given to me as a gift because I just can't stand the smell. And I think I might be almost mildly allergic to them. I just find it very, very agitating, and I want nothing to do. There will be no scented candles here in my place to the extent that I have a say. All right, so I think we're more or less done. I don't know if there's much else I want to say about this Trump lawyer article. This is sort of relevant, and I've read a couple commentaries about this. Trump has this other lawyer named Ty Cobb, which is just kind of funny because Ty Cobb was a very famous baseball player, and if you see the guy's mustache, it's also pretty funny. Ty Cobb, if Ty Cobb is still there, if Ty Cobb goes, that would really be a signal that Trump is becoming more sort of, I guess I would say, committed to a more risque approach when it comes to Trump, Russia, and Mueller and the entire thing. Because again, Ty Cobb has sort of been, not that he's the most reasonable guy, but sort of a moderating influence on Trump as well. Okay, nothing else to say there. The next big story is that Donald Trump has indeed fired his national security advisor, H.R. McMaster. Now, this would be news already if this were only Trump's first national security advisor, but this is already Trump's second national security advisor. You'll remember the first one, Michael Flynn, has already been indicted, and could really be facing some pretty serious prison time. I mean, he has very, very serious charges against him, and it'll, I think, come down mostly to what kind of a deal he ultimately strikes with prosecutors and with Robert Mueller's team. Now, Trump had previously replaced Flynn with H.R. McMaster. Again, McMaster, I hate to say it, like Tillerson, not guys that I would proactively say, hey, here's someone you should consider for your administration. But in the context of the people working for Trump, Kellyanne Conway and Stephen Miller, formerly Steve Bannon, Scaramucci, Spicer, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, McMaster and Tillerson had sort of more reasonable heads on their shoulders, so to speak, and now McMaster is going to go. And Trump tweeting earlier today, I am pleased to announce that effective on April 9th, Ambassador John Bolton will be my new national security advisor. I am very thankful for the service of General H.R. McMaster, who has done an outstanding job and will always remain my friend. There will be an official contact handover on April 9th. So again, this is not normal. The idea is for every single one of these to present it as though these are just the natural ebbs and flows of an administration. Nothing to see here. It's all very, very normal, and we shouldn't be concerned about chaos at the White House. But the truth is that this is not normal. The level of turnover is within the cabinet has been greater than what we've seen in a presidential administration in over 100 years. The number of unfilled positions that are still going, I mean, it's just not normal, right? And so we should all expect, number one, that Bolton, I don't know if is the type of guy that will work with Trump, because if there's one thing, I find John Bolton's politics absolutely disgusting and deplorable. But if there's one thing I think we can accurately say about John Bolton is he says what's on his mind. And that doesn't really work super well with Donald Trump, right? And so I would not at all be surprised if John Bolton's tenure as national security advisor to Trump does not last very, very long. But we will see. I mean, the truth is that it wouldn't be surprising if anyone's tenure working for Donald Trump doesn't last very long. Adjacent Brown 12 has sent another super chat. $5 super chat. Hey, David, what do you think will happen to DACA? Is it dead? No, I don't think DACA is dead. And unless I missed some news today, the most recent news on DACA was that because it's such a big thing that affects so many people, until the legal challenges to the elimination of DACA are done, they can't take people off DACA status or start deporting DACA recipients. So Adjacent Brown 12, if I missed something today, let me know. But I don't think DACA is dead, and I'm obviously hopeful that eventually something is done. But it's not. It's going to depend on people other than Trump, right? Because Trump has basically taken 4 different positions on DACA, even within like a 24, 48-hour period. And it's not going to be Trump that ultimately fixes it. Brooke Miller also sent a $2 super chat. Pacman, we love your show. Keep it up, man. Thank you, Brooke. Very, very much appreciate it. Of course, Super Chat and Streamlabs are the 2 ways that you can ask questions and make comments that I will read and respond to during the live stream, streamlabs.com/The David Pacman Show. Link is in the description for the live stream. And on that note, I should probably, I think we've got a couple new members as well. And I've been talking about how I make an effort during the live streams to thank people that sign up at davidpacman.com/membership. There's a coupon code right now, which will save you 40%. And that coupon code is VoteSoon18. And 2 more new members. I want to thank Katrine Miller. Thank you for signing up. And also Bob Parsons. Bob Parsons has signed up, both taking advantage of that 40% discount code. Very, very exciting. Okay, so we've dealt with Trump firing H.R. McMaster. We will cover that more on subsequent live streams and programs. Let's now talk about what's going on, if I can close out some ads that are popping up. There has now been another Trump affair, mistress. I don't know what the girlfriend. I don't know what the right term to use is. And there's a New York Daily News article which we're looking at. This relates to her interview that aired just in the last hour, I believe, with Anderson Cooper on CNN. Her name is Karen McDougal. She had some very, very interesting things to say to Anderson Cooper, and it's not getting any better for Donald Trump when it comes to these stories. An ex-Playboy playmate who allegedly had an affair with Donald Trump says he once tried paying her after they had been intimate. Here's what I don't understand, okay? If you are intimate and then Trump offers you money, does that mean he doesn't think it was very good? Does it mean he believed that you were a prostitute? Does it mean that he thought it was so good that he owed you money? Like, what is the logic by which, after it's done, does he do it just as an insult of some kind to try to degrade the woman? I really don't know. I don't fully get it. Karen McDougal, who filed a lawsuit this week to null a legal agreement that prevents her from speaking publicly about the affair, publicly misspelled. This is kind of a weird article. It seems to have been haphazardly thrown together about the affair. Told CNN's Anderson Cooper in an interview set to air Thursday night that Trump tried handing her cash after a tryst. I don't even know how to describe the look on my face, she said. It must have been so sad because I never have been offered money like that, number one. And number two, does he think I'm in this for the money? McDougal, who's 46 years old, said, according to an excerpt that's been provided to the Daily News. I looked at him and said, that's not me. I'm not that kind of girl. And he looked at me and said, oh, you're really special. I love that line. Oh, you're really special. It must be so rare that Trump doesn't have to pay women for sex that he thought it was special and particularly nice of her, I guess, not to charge Trump. I mean, this is just so bizarre. McDougal says the episode left her heartbroken. I got home and was crying a lot. I felt terrible about myself. McDougal filed a lawsuit Tuesday, charging that the Trump-boosting National Enquirer bought the rights to the story about her affair for $150,000 but never published it, leaving her forced to stay mute. The technique known in tabloid circles as catch and kill has been used on a number of occasions by the Enquirer's parent company, American Media, Inc. According to reports, McDougal alleges that Trump's longtime attorney, Michael Cohen, was involved in brokering the hush agreement. Trump's 10-month extramarital affair with McDougal came to an end in 2007, according to court records. McDougal's lawsuit comes as porn star Stormy Daniels is already battling Trump in court over a non-disclosure agreement she says should be nulled because he never signed. This now is getting to the point where it's not really going to be possible to ignore it indefinitely. Like at some point, something more is going to happen than just saying it's all fake, because it's clearly not all fake, right? It's never random women that have never had contact with Trump. It's always women that at some point have met Donald Trump. And of course, Sarah Huckabee Sanders will say Trump has met thousands of people and has millions of pictures with different people. Doesn't mean anything else. But it is notable that it's never a woman that has no connection to Trump. Like, these are women who are known to have had contact with Trump at some point, and they have the legal documents, right? They have the documents to show counsel that these agreements are in place. So the idea that it's just all liars at some point, and for most of the sane and reasonable public, it was a while ago, is not going to hold up anymore. Dep1 has sent a $4 super chat saying, just because Brooke Miller is awesome. Wow, that is interesting. Brooke Miller sending a $2 super chat. And now Dep1 sending a $4 super chat, sort of in celebration, I guess, of Brooke's super chat. We have a €5 super chat from Mitro Yoncini saying, David, I politically identify as a socialist, but I do live in the more leftist Europe. Do you think the U.S. can ever have a socialist president? Listen, any predictions made more than a few years out in most areas of life are worthless. I think it would be very difficult to end up with a socialist president in the United States of America. I think that a social democrat, more along the lines of what we see in Scandinavia, in the Nordic countries, in some other countries in Europe, would probably be, at least over the next 15 to 20 years, sort of the most likely, the furthest move to the left that we could expect And even that is going to be tough. But I don't. I mean, in the immediate political short and medium term, I don't think the United States is going to have a socialist president. I think what we could hope to have, and this is sort of I'm not being a socialist myself, being more someone in line with the Scandinavian social democracy model. That's what I would like to see, and that's what I think would be of great benefit to this country over the long term. Raul Aguilar has sent a $5 super chat. Do you think you would ever run for office? If so, how would you make America great? Love the show. Yeah, I mean, as many of you know, I was not born in the United States, so I actually could never be president of the United States. But I don't really know that I'm interested in running for office. I think that there's just a lot of... I don't know. I kind of just like running. It's kind of like what Trump should have realized, which is he's way better off just running his business, and then he still gets attention, but he's not going to have all sorts of problems that you create by being a politician. I kind of like just running my private business and doing my thing. So I don't know that I would ever run for office, but wouldn't rule it out. Certainly never president, because I could never be president. David Trevino has sent a $1 super chat with no question or comment. David, really appreciate that. Thank you very much. And thanks to everybody who's been contributing. Sharp Wit Tube has sent a $2 super chat asking, do I think Trump will be impeached? No, I don't. I don't think Trump will be impeached. And that's not because I believe there will never be an impeachable offense attributed to Trump necessarily. It's more that I think if it really gets to Trump at risk of impeachment, I actually do think he would resign and save some face that way. I know not everybody agrees with me on this. There are people who write to me every time I say this and say, no, David, you don't get it. Trump actually would rather wait it out and be impeached and then play the witch hunt card than to actually kind of admit defeat and choose to get out himself. Reasonable people can disagree. I think that if he were close to impeachment, that he would resign. Dep1 has sent a $10 super chat. David, can you do another show with that exorcist lady from the other day? She was quite interesting. Yeah, I'm glad you're mentioning that. A really weird thing happened when I interviewed this so-called exorcist the other day. I don't know how many of you are familiar with my views on pseudoscience, but I basically don't believe any of it until I'm presented with actual compelling evidence. And I interviewed a so-called real exorcist earlier this week, and I thought I was making it abundantly clear, like clear as glass, that of course I think it's all bullshit, right? And I asked questions about how she came to believe that this is what she does and how she believes that it works and all of that stuff. I didn't yell at her. I didn't say, I think you're an idiot, because what's the point of that, right? At any point, I could just say, I am not going to move beyond this last assertion and continue to push it. But that would make for a pretty boring 20 minutes, right? So my view is, let's figure out why they think this. I'll ask my questions, which make it clear why I don't think that they are right about what they're saying. And then we're going to continue moving on. But I got a bunch of emails from people saying, David, what is this Coast to Coast AM now, or Ancient Aliens or whatever? Like, you're now doing pseudoscience promotion pieces. And I don't know if I completely miscalculated how I presented myself during that interview, but I don't know how anyone could watch an interview where I talk to a so-called exorcist and come away thinking that I believe that there's anything even remotely legit about it. I just have no idea. And if I did something where I came off that way, I've got to rethink these interviews, because that's horribly embarrassing. Over at streamlabs.com/The David Pakman Show, Terry123 sent a $5 contribution asking, hey, David, do you think the tariff has something to do with China's recent change in constitution and could make President Xi president for life, or is it more of a diversion from the Russia investigation? I don't think it's either. I mean, the announcement, correct me if I'm wrong, Terry, but the announcement of the tariffs was made before, I think, unless I might have the timing mixed up. I think that was made before we saw that change to Chinese law that makes it possible for president for life to effectively be a thing in China. So I don't know about that. I also don't think, I mean, listen, Trump sort of campaigned. I actually said, this is finally something Trump campaigned on that he's just doing. We can disagree with the policy. We can think it's bad policy. But Trump said that he was going to do this, that he was going to start taxing, putting tariffs on certain foreign imports. Of course, they're imports. Of course, they're foreign if they're imports. And he actually did it, right? So I actually don't think it was that in particular. Okay, let's see what else we've got here. Charmeleon sent a $5 super chat saying, Char/Pacman 2020. All right. As I said, I can't run for president. How much money have you made off your show all these years? What's one thing you like about Trump? Who is most likely to be the nominee in 2020? We're a private company. We've got staff, expenses, all that stuff. I don't, like most private companies, we don't make our balance sheet public. What is one thing I like about Trump? Man, I don't know. What is something I like about Trump? I like that he's willing to just go out there with that hair and not try to do something that looks a little bit more reasonable. Like he's existing in the world and he seems unashamed about just being out there and seen with that hair of his. And who do I think is the most likely nominee in 2020? I have made a decision. I am not talking about that until we get past the midterms because I don't want to, by talking about 2020 in any real way, I am talking about an election that is not the next election that people need to vote in, which is the 2018 midterm. So I'm not ready to talk about 2020 nominees. Skelly Crew has sent a $5 Canadian super chat saying, have some coins. Thanks very much. Frank McAvoy has sent a $5 super chat. Did I tell you Kellyanne showed up at my parish for Mass 6 months ago? I offered a user $10 to hit her with the collection basket. She refused. Okay, I mean, that sounds like it would be criminal, so it's probably good, Frank, that she refused. Tracy Benefield has sent a $10 super chat. I know Beto O'Rourke is a long shot, but if he succeeds in his run, what effect, if any, do you think it'll have in the trajectory of Democrats' bid to turn over seats? So here's my thought on this, Tracy. I've talked about Beto O'Rourke, and my position has been, yeah, he's liberal, but he's not exactly a progressive hero. But he's running against Ted Cruz in Texas, so you're not probably going to do quite so well with a super progressive. And today we did a story on the show that I think is really relevant to your question, Tracy, which is there's no one strategy or tactic for taking out incumbents. What I mean by that is if you are in a district where, or in a state where, if we're talking about a senator, where there's like a very corporate Democrat, like the Uber example is Joe Manchin in West Virginia, who's, I think I would say, I think it's widely known, he's the most conservative Democratic senator in the Senate. The strategy to take out Joe Manchin in West Virginia, did I say Virginia or West Virginia? I meant West Virginia, is different than the one to take out a Republican in a district, in a state like Texas. And it's different than in, for example, like a swing district or something like that. A new study was done, and it's a relatively small sample size. It only looked at 30 swing districts. But what it found is that actually in those swing districts, the instinct often of Democrats is to run very moderate candidates, like basically 1% to the left, I call it, of the incumbent, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican. And what the study showed is that actually Democrats would be far better off running a more progressive candidate as long as they're progressive on the right issues. So I think the mistake, Tracy, is to think that any one race tells us about the trajectory for overturning seats in general. What I do think is a fair point is that if even in Texas you're able to defeat an incumbent Republican senator, it paints a picture that could be pretty good for Democrats nationally, but I think it's dangerous to start falling sort of into that false security. MB sent a $5 super chat. Why is Trump setting tariffs? Who benefits? By the way, Brooke Miller and I watch your show every night together. She is awesome. Does Dep1 know my girlfriend? Uh-oh. It appears that MB is not pleased that Dep1 is sort of tipping, in a way, his girlfriend via super chat. So I hope that doesn't lead to some kind of problem between viewers, but I'll focus on the economic question. Why is Trump setting tariffs? Who benefits? Okay, From the tariff itself, the idea is that the U.S. benefits, right? Because what you do is you make it more expensive to get steel and aluminum from another country. So American firms, instead of buying foreign steel and aluminum, they buy domestic steel and aluminum. Domestic steel and aluminum companies make more sales. Everybody wins. The problem is that we don't exist in a vacuum, right? So as soon as you put the tariffs on the foreign country, they can then put tariffs on American goods. So then you have American companies that will suffer because our goods become more expensive elsewhere. That's like one very simple impact of these trade wars. So in the long term, usually nobody wins trade wars. And that's why so many economists are against them. Colin Adderlane sent a $2 super chat. I'm sorry, no, I skipped over one. Dylan Collett sent a $2 super chat. How can we engage voters effectively for the midterms? I think here's the opportunity for the midterms, right? Trump gets elected. Wave of activism starts. People that were never involved in politics before are all of a sudden involved in politics. We've got all the various marches. You can criticize individual marches for applying the wrong tactics. I've done it, et cetera, et cetera. But the good news is that you've got all these new people that are engaged politically. The thing now is just to turn out the vote from those people. We have such pathetically low voter turnout in the United States that you can win most elections by running get out the vote. Whoever turns out the vote has a really good shot of winning because voter turnout is just so pathetically low in the United States. So I think the most effective thing, Dylan, is not convincing politically apathetic people to become engaged in politics. Take advantage of the fact that the Trump presidency has engaged so many new people, and you got to make damn sure that they vote, because I'm worried, especially in midterms, where we see even pathetically lower turnout than in general elections, that voters just aren't going to turn out. So I would say take all of the newly engaged citizens and get them to vote. Colin Adderlane sent a $2 super chat. Facebook hires same forensics organization as Uber over Cambridge Analytica ideas. I have no idea about that story. Let me see if I can look it up. Facebook forensics Uber. Let's see what comes up. Okay, I've got an article here from Business Insider. Facebook just hired Strauss Friedberg, the same outside investigator Uber called on. Oh, lost the title due to an ad. Uber called on during its biggest controversy. Analytics firm Cambridge Analytica obtained data on millions of users. Facebook asked Cambridge Analytica to delete it, never verified that they did. In the wake of an uproar, Facebook promised to find out if Cambridge Analytica still has the data, and it hired Strauss Friedberg, the same investigator once used by Uber. Yeah, I don't know in particular what to make of that. I don't know much about these forensics type companies, so I'm really not sure what to make of that. Josh sent a $5 super chat. Any idea how McMaster's ouster will affect U.S. policy toward Iran and North Korea? I believe that it will make it more belligerent. And there's a couple reasons to think that. Number one, we know that in the context of the Trump administration, which is whacked, that Tillerson and McMaster were often moderating influences on Trump, particularly when it came to threats to foreign countries. We know that Tillerson and McMaster played key roles in sort of scaling down the threats and likelihood of an attack on North Korea. My presumption is that they had or would if Trump got to the point of looking at action in Iran. So I believe that McMaster's ouster is going to radicalize the position of the administration towards Iran and North Korea, particularly as Donald Trump has said, he's looking at potentially undoing elements of or all of the Iran deal, which could well serve as a pretext to then do who knows what. So I think that one's a pretty concerning one, and I'm pretty worried about it. Jane Woman Power has sent a $5 Canadian super chat. Adjacent Brown 12 has sent a $10 super chat. There is a law in Texas called SB4. It allows law enforcement to ask for legal status, and chiefs and officers who refuse to participate could face jail time. It is not getting much attention. Let me look into that. SB4 Texas. Indeed. Yep, I found that. I've bookmarked an article, and I will look into that and maybe cover it on the show. Thanks for letting me know. Greener Thumbs sent a $5 super chat. Saw your Alec Jones sticker clip. How long till he rages out and calls you a globalist? Also, please have Professor Wolf on again soon. Capitalism sucks. Yeah, for people who don't know what Greener Thumbs is talking about, we have been receiving a lot of pictures from viewers who buy bumper stickers on our website and then are using them to cover InfoWars bumper stickers all over the country. We had Ryan in Rochester, New York do it. We had a whole bunch of others. I apologize. Spencer did it in Tennessee, I believe, and I've got some others saved up already. I apologize that I haven't put all of them on air yet, but we're getting a little bit of a backlog. And apparently the InfoWars black bumper sticker is the perfect size to be just covered up super precisely with the black David Pakman Show bumper sticker. So there's a lot of that going around. And I don't know if Alex Jones, I don't know that Alex Jones really cares. Maybe someday he'll mention it. Maybe he won't. It'd be pretty funny if he did. Let me pause from Super Chats to go over to Streamlabs because I did get a Streamlabs contribution from Q71 for $10 who said, this donation is for our hero Pat. Go Pat. All right, there you go. Very exciting. Charmander sent a $2 Super Chat. Name one good thing Trump has done so far. No cop-outs. Okay. Trump's tax bill lowered the amount, the threshold for when medical expenses become deductible. I think that that's a good thing. It was way too high before. So Trump's tax bill, to the extent that it was Trump's, lowered the threshold at which people can start getting a deduction for medical expenses. And I think when we have the corrupt and broken health insurance system that we have, that threshold should be very, very low. Dep1 with a $50 super chat, monstrous super chat, asking, just wondering, what are the benefits of getting membership on your site, David? That is a very, very good question. There are any number of membership benefits. The most popular two membership benefits are that you get daily audio and video streams of the show with no commercials, right? So the way that the YouTube channel normally works is that we put the show out in audio podcast form with commercials at 3:30 p.m., and then the video clips start slowly being released every 90 minutes at 4:30 p.m. 5-minute clip here, 7-minute clip there. The most popular membership benefit is that by 4 or 4:15 p.m. Eastern time every day, you've got the entire audio show with no commercials available for your listening pleasure. But also on YouTube, we make full commercial-free video shows available. That's the full hour show. Instead of waiting till 9 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. and midnight for individual clips to publish, you get the entire thing around 4:15 p.m. Eastern time. That's really popular. The other thing is this, the bonus show. Every day we do our hour broadcast show, but then we've got an extra show every single day just for our members, and it's called the bonus show. People love it. And you get it every day when you are a member. And as I mentioned before, right now on all monthly and yearly memberships, any membership that you like, you select it on our website, you hit the red sign up button, and there's a coupon code that will save you 40%. And on page 2, you type in Vote Soon 18 in the coupon code field, select your payment method, and you will save 40% for life. That is for life. We don't say it's a low introductory rate. I'm not doing any of that stuff. It is 40% off for life. If you don't need the discount, we of course appreciate it if you pay full price, right? But if the discount it makes a meaningful difference to you, please use it. It's available. Derek Busby sent a $5 super chat. How bad would it look if the next administration decides to investigate Trump's inner circle for alleged crimes against the United States? In other words, Eric Prince. I don't think it would look bad. How bad would it look if? Oh, well, who would it look bad for? I think that would be great. I mean, if there's an investigation that if the facts and evidence point us to needing to investigate something, then we should do it. There's never any shame in saying we're not going to ignore problems because of cronyism or for whatever other reason, right? So I think that would be a really good thing. Troy McInroy has sent a $2 Canadian super chat. What's your favorite genre of music. I don't really have a favorite genre. I don't like country. Country music is what I dislike the most, followed by like really heavy metal. I just don't like those. But as far as favorite genres, it really varies. I grew up on a lot of like 90s alternative, the stuff you'd hear on the Sirius XM station called Lithium. I think it's channel 34. Grew up with a lot of older rap, Tupac, etc. I'm into a lot of Latin American ska and reggae bands, a lot of Argentinian bands from my home country of Argentina. Los Pericos is one that I really like. Los Cafres. There's just a ton of different bands. I love stuff like Sting and the Police and Chili Peppers, Billy Joel. I mean, I don't know. I really don't like country music. That's really, I think, the big thing for me. I cannot stand it. Charmander has sent another $2 super chat. How embarrassed are you about your election 2016 prediction? Not at all. I mean, like half the country got it wrong. Half the country thought Trump was going to win. Half the country thought Hillary was going to win. Saying I don't know who's going to win would be pretty boring. So everybody makes a prediction. It's not really embarrassing, and it's not negatively affected the show in any way. In fact, we've had, since that embarrassing prediction, the show has grown incredibly. I mean, by leaps and bounds. So I can't say I'm too embarrassed. Obviously, I guess I would have rather gotten it right, although it made for some pretty interesting discussions. Over on Streamlabs, streamlabs.com/The David Pakman Show, Purple Haze 09 sent the $5 comment. With Biden and Trump arguing like children and the actual children in Florida and elsewhere acting like mature adults with their efforts to affect social change on gun reform, is this really where we are, where kids act like adults and vice versa? Yeah, basically. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what other comment I can make as far as that goes. But that's basically where we are. And it's disgusting. It's embarrassing. It's and by the way, I want to mention. So I'm going to talk about this on tomorrow's show at the top of the show. But Joe Biden at a rally against sexual assault said something along the lines of, "If I was in high school and someone like Trump was harassing women, I would have basically beaten the guy up." And then Trump responded with something like, I could beat up Joe Biden type of thing. And a lot of people said it's the same thing. Biden is threatening Trump and Trump is threatening Biden. I couldn't disagree more, right? Biden is saying, based on the things that Donald Trump has actually said, that he would stand up for women, right? If women were in a position that they were being victimized by someone, could be Trump, could be anybody else, Joe Biden, when he was in high school, if that's when it was, would have stood up and would have fought the person, would have physically intervened. Trump is just responding by saying, I could beat you up, Joe, right? So anybody who says that it's tit for tat and they're both being equally childish, give me a break. It's really popular now to say, oh, everybody, the left and right, it's all the same, Democrat, Republican. But no, Joe Biden was saying he would stand up for women. He would defend women. He wouldn't allow men to do the things that Trump has bragged about doing. And Biden basically just said I could beat you up, right? So there's no similarity there. And on that note, I kind of wanted to just quickly look with you if you would like to participate with me at Donald Trump's Twitter feed and see what's going on, because I'm seeing comments that he's off his rocker again. I guess I should look at tweets and replies to see if he's been responding to anybody. So we've got the tweet about firing McMaster. He retweeted Charlie Kirk, who I guess interviewed him. And then it's 7 hours ago. As a candidate, I pledged that if elected, I would use every lawful tool to combat unfair trade. And then related to the tariff stuff. Retweeted Melania, same greetings from the White House. And then very early this morning, remember when they were saying during the campaign that Donald Trump is giving great speeches and drawing big crowds, but he's spending much less money and not using social media, as well as crooked Hillary's large and highly sophisticated staff? Well, not saying that anymore. Let's respond to this one. If the first part was a question, it's missing the question mark. And no, I don't think anybody was saying that. These responses I do to Trump, oh, and you couldn't even see it because it was off screen. I apologize. When I respond to Trump, those tweets for some reason do really well. Like, I don't know how the feed is optimized that people actually see that, but I start getting trolled really aggressively, like really, really, really aggressively. And then we've got the crazy Joe Biden is trying to act like a tough guy. Yeah, so I'm not seeing that much other crazy stuff from Trump on his Twitter feed today. I don't know what people were referring to. And believe me, I am keeping a very, very close eye on that Trump Twitter feed because it is just absolutely wacky. No question about that. Let's see here. Okay, Cowalem H sent a $20 Mexican super chat. What do you think about Justice Democrats? Yeah, I wish I knew why people were so fixated on my opinion of Justice Democrats. I think that it's a great thing to try to elect more progressive candidates. I don't really follow their specific endorsements closely. This has nothing to do with any kind of commentary on Cenk or Kyle, neither of whom are even involved with it anymore. I just don't really follow any group like Justice Democrats. When TYT had Wolfpack, I wasn't really following that. I don't know if that's still around. I just don't really follow stuff like that. So I don't really just have, I just don't have much to say about it. And I feel like there's this impression that I'm deliberately not talking about it. I don't see anything that they do. I don't get any newsletters. I don't know exactly who they're supporting. So I don't have too much to say about it. MB sent a $2 super chat for hating country music and no hate for Dep 1. Absolutely. No hate for Dep 1 whatsoever. DC sent a $5 super chat. Been a member for about a year now. Glad I found your program. Keep up the good work. P.S. Pat is a shill for the Keurig Industrial Complex. Hard to disagree with that. Very, very hard to disagree. Charmander with a $2 super chat. You had her at 322 LOL. Why should we trust your analysis? I don't know what this person is talking about. I think this is the same person who asked about if I'm embarrassed about my prediction for 2016. I'm not telling you should trust my analysis. I mean, you can. I certainly don't think anybody should trust my predictions, and that's the thing about politics, that almost anyone can make bad predictions or good predictions, and generally speaking, humans are really, really bad at making predictions. But listen, I'm not telling you should trust my analysis, and in fact, if you don't trust it, nobody's forcing you to watch the show or anything like that. So if you find that I am untrustworthy in my analysis, by all means, I'm sure there are other programs that would fit the bill a little bit more. RBU 83145 sent a $5 Australian super chat. Have you read The America Syndrome by Betsy Hartman? Gives a good understanding of how awful people like Trump get elected. I haven't. I'll make a note to check it out. Getting ready to order a bunch more books. BALA 5984 sent a €5 super chat. Interested in interviewing Andrew Moravchik, Princeton University expert in EU-US relations and interesting guy. I will make a note and look him up. Always interested in interview ideas. Thank you. Troy McEnroy or McKinroy has sent a $2 Canadian super chat. Have you ever been to Canada? I have. I have been to Montreal more than a dozen times. One of my favorite places in this region. I guess I kind of live in the same region. It's only about a 5-hour drive. I have been to Toronto once. I've been to Ottawa once. And I think I've been to Calgary when I was younger. Actually, no, I haven't been to Calgary. But I love Montreal, and I'm actually going to be up there in a few weeks, more like a couple months. We'll be up in Montreal with some friends. And I just love it. Love Montreal. It's a good opportunity for me to try to practice my French, even though almost immediately anyone I'm speaking to just switches to English, and I have to sort of like persevere and be determined to speak French if I want to practice. And it's a nice mix of, a Canadian city with something a little more European feeling. Great restaurants. Love going to the IMAX theater. Nothing really special about it other than I just would always go to that IMAX theater as a kid growing up. Go to the Atwater Market in Montreal, walk up to Mount Royal. Yeah, love Canada, and but I know that some people will hear me just talking about Montreal, and they'll say, David, it's not really Canada. When we say that, when the non-Quebecois say Canada, they mean Toronto or Vancouver or whatever else. I will admit that I am very French Canada centric. With peace and love, I say that, of course. Over at streamlabs.com/The David Pakman Show, I got a $5 comment from Maitre de Bass 1, who says, when are you going to put out an app for your show? Love all you do. Yeah, I keep, the app thing, I don't know what to do about the app. We get pitched app development just all the time. And always there's something wrong with the app that's being pitched. And I don't know that at this point I really have the bandwidth to develop an app from scratch. And the show is on a lot of apps already. Like our channel is on YouTube, and YouTube has a nice app. And we're on a bunch of different podcast apps like iTunes and iHeartRadio and Stitcher. So I don't want to duplicate I feel like people who are determined to use an app to interact with the show probably already have one of the apps that has show content on it. So would we really grow the audience with the app? Or would we just have a bunch of people who switch from one app to another? I don't know. I'm continuing to think about it. I'm not against it. I think there's a lot to having our own app. Maybe something in it to directly call in when we're live, or it could even push notify you when we are taking live calls or live streams, that type of thing. Direct link to leave a voicemail for the show. There's some cool stuff that we could do, but just I'm not sure right now. I'm still thinking about it. Let me take a quick scan through the non-super chat. I like to do that as well, and see what interesting comments there are there, although there is a lot of crazy stuff typically in the comments. Let's see here. What do we have? Any comments here? A lot of people arguing with each other. I love how he says it Charmander instead of Charmander. Yeah, I don't know why I'm doing that. I have no idea why I pronounced it that way. David, would you debate Kyle on Russia, given that he thinks there was no Russian meddling in the election? Does he think that? I mean, listen, here's the thing. People say, oh, debate Kyle, blah, 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 blah. I don't know that there's really anything to debate other than our opinions as to how much of a big deal we think Russia is. And, the truth of the matter is, ultimately, what happened is something we're going to learn from the Muller investigation. So all we would really be debating is saying, here's my opinion of how important this issue is. And he'd say, well, here's my opinion. And I think people think it would be very interesting. I think it'd be incredibly boring. But I also don't think he thinks there's been no meddling. I just thought that he believed it wasn't really as big of a deal or something like that. But what do I know? I don't watch any shows. What else do we have here? I'm just looking through the regular chat to see what other questions people have, anything that I'm missing. A lot of people just arguing with each other. Oh, someone said there are no Mexican dollars. That's right, it's Mexican peso. Mexican peso. Been a while since I've been to Mexico. Last time I was there, I think it was 14-1, 14 pesos to the dollar. A lot of chat going on here. What do I disagree with? These people seem to be talking mostly to each other, which is great. That's fine. I'm just not seeing a lot of questions for me, which is totally fine. I don't need questions there. Okay. On that note, we've been chatting here for an hour, and I got to wrap up. Big day tomorrow. More shows, more content, all that stuff. Thanks to everybody who joined me, and please do consider making a pledge on Patreon. Only $1 is a really great thing for us. That's $12 for the year. And if just 1% of our YouTube following did that, we'd be in pretty damn good shape. So check it out, patreon.com/David Pakman Show. I will stream again, that I promise you.